Only 1 more kilometer to go. Hey guys, I took a look at everyone's technique that I managed to capture on video. Sorry if I missed anyone. So here's some observations that you may want to incorporate. Hopefully some of it may help. 4-seat, you want to try and keep the recovery more vertical. The paddle face closer to the hull. Top arm just essentially retraces the downstroke. Just it barely shifts away from the downstroke just to get the blade out a little bit, but otherwise keep that top arm simple. Don't swing it out wide to the gunnel. Bruce, you want to keep your top hand and bottom hand vertically aligned or stacked throughout your stroke. If you point your index finger on your top hand out and watch the path that it goes, you'll see that it goes down and then out to the side of the canoe. Interestingly, when you do that changeover you just did, that is the stroke we're looking for. Then once you put your top hand on top, you add that, uh, that stretched reach there where you bend in your top elbow and rotate out the side of the canoe. So your index finger will be pointing down and then out both sides. So you want to keep top hand stacked. Don't try to overreach by pulling in your top elbow. Just keep it out and keep a natural drop pressed paddle with a positive angle. Think about the top hand finishing where the bottom hand started on your catch. 4-seat, nice setup and entry. The top hand and bottom hand stay nicely stacked throughout your stroke. Make sure you keep power on that face. Once you find resistance in the water, keep the power on right back through the exit. Don't ease up on the power too soon. Incorporate your leg drive, your lower back as you lock in there and drive it back. That exit, as we talked about before, you want to keep that top hand from swinging out over the gunnel. As you see there, you want to just vertically retrace that top arm, and then that should clean that stroke up nicely. Bruce, as you're coming up for that setup and you're ready to drive down for that catch, you see your top arm bend right there, like it's coming in. Keep that top arm nice and out. You don't need to bend it in and try and stretch reach for the catch because that entry is usually no power on it anyways. You're better off getting just a nice positive angle. That's too much angle. So reduce that angle by reducing that top arm bend at the catch. Two seat, you want to get your catch vertical, your shaft vertical. You want to put that top hand out over the gun a little bit more so that it's more in line with the bottom hand. Okay, starting with the 1-seat here. On the recovery, you can see if you bend that top hand in, you want to keep it nicely extended. Like if you take a look at the other seats, like Andrew's got a nice extension, Ron elbow a little high but extended. You bend it in on the recovery and then you punch it out right at the catch. So it's just a very inefficient waste of energy there. Since you're already going to be out there with the top arm, you want to just simply don't bend that in there. Just keep it out when you lift it up. Simplify that recovery. Keep it out right there. Lift it straight back up. Don't bend that arm into your body and then punch it out last second to try and get the catch in. Really efficient and simple looking stroke, Andrew. I'd like to see just a little more forceful entry by burying that stroke deeper a little earlier than you're actually showing here. Just drive it before you pull there, just a little more, see how that helps. And then also drive it back a little longer by incorporating the lower back. So drive off the leg, now pull back hard with the lower back leg so that you end up sitting up a little more upright. So you get a little bit more length. You can see that the recovery is snappier than one seat because one seat's pulling her arms into her body, creating a pause on her stroke. I think once one seat fixes that top arm, that will sync up. Two seat, also a nice and efficient stroke. A little bit of wastage on the recovery here. You see, you lift it up and then you pull it in and it goes very high over your head. And then when you drive in for your stroke, you straighten that out. So you don't need to bend that arm in and pull it out. Just get it out there, right? Just leave it out there on your recovery. You don't need to pull it in. Nice, efficient, smooth, looks nicely stacked. Nicely done. Your two-seat, your hands also look like they're coming a little high out in the recovery. You can see your lower hand comes up really high. Top hand comes up high also because it bends in a bit. Only keep it as high as you need to. Keep the blade as low to the water as possible, less taxing on your shoulder. Here on, you're starting your pull from your set position. You want a second drop in after the set. So you're pressing that paddle down, locking it in, then initiating the pull. But you can see you're set, you start to swing, and you're buried negative. You're also recovering Y with a flare. So this is kind of a personal preference thing. You can see Andrew is just very flat blade recovery, super simple. It's a lot of energy. What looks like what you're expending on that recovery. You might want to try just simply picking that arm straight up to the start without the big flare. Hey, Lowry, really powerful looking stroke. One thing I would recommend or observe is same thing as Bruce. You drive down really strong, but then you rotate your body and your head out over the gunnel, so your chest is angled, over angled outside the canoe. Uh, Keep that top hand stacked with the lower and drive it down to where the lower hand started. Same thing with I recommend with Bruce. Point that index finger out and watch that trajectory. It should be pushing forward, down, down towards the start of the bottom hand, and not over rotating outside the canoe at the end of the stroke. Two seat, Catherine. Your right side and your left side are looking different. Your right side look really nice and tight. The recovery, your blade face is tight to the gunnel. On the left side, you're coming out much more horizontal. Also try and extend your bottom arm out and rotate that top shoulder a bit on your setup. If you see Lori, she's nicely extended, nice forward lean, ready to drop into the catch. You also look like you might be having a little bit of a side bend as you're trying to stack the top hand nice and vertical. Make sure you're just swinging the hand over from the shoulder to get it vertical rather than bending too far out the canoe. Also, the next thing is you're out of phase with Lori. Lori is doing a long stroke in this case, and you're coming a little bit shorter and then you're not following her recovery. So you're speedier on the recovery, and that's causing 5 seat to follow you. And so the both sides of the canoe are out of phase. Three seat, Nora, I think. Um, you're swinging in the air from your set position, therefore you're missing your catch. You want to make sure once you lean forward for your set position, you need a second lean to drop the paddle down and press it in on a positive angle and lock it in before you initiate your catch. So you can see you're just swinging too early. Press it in off the catch so it's a positive angle. You'll see that your blade is buried really late in your stroke. You can see the comparison here between 1, 2, and 5 stroke. 5 seat, try to incorporate upper shoulder rotation as you're coming up into the set and catch to really incorporate a bit more power on your stroke at the front. As you unwind the shoulder, engage core, drive off the leg, and really engage with the lower back, and make sure you keep the force on the paddle, that resistance feeling, all the way to the back of the stroke. Nice stroke overall. I think rotating that top shoulder, though, will definitely help you lengthen your stroke by getting that paddle reached out a little bit further at the front. Two seat, nice, powerful looking stroke. Looks like you're getting a lot of body weight on that catch and getting a lot of good core pulling into it. The only thing I would say is that big flared recovery is not necessary in a day like today. If you take a look at four seat, that paddler just simply picks it up and pushes it forward. No flare at all, tight to the gunnel. That's adequate for a day like today. High winds and big surf, yes, maybe you want to flare out a bit, but you're almost over flaring. You can see the blade face angled forward even a bit, over compensating on that recovery. Four seat. Notice how your top hand stays high throughout your stroke, and then your bottom hand pulls it out early so that you have a very small arc in the water. You want to keep that top pressure force all the way through your stroke so that hand presses right down to the gunnel. And you want to keep your lower hand in the water longer throughout your stroke by not pulling it up so early when it's generally still leaning forward, but engage that lower back so that you're pulling it back with your back and the hand still along the water line, and then pull it back a little later. That'll slow down the rollover of your paddle and make it longer in the water. One seat, you're getting a really nice positive angle catch, but you're getting it by excessive lean and excessive weight on the catch. You're throwing your body too much onto the catch. At some point, we want to stop that forward lean and continue pressing that blade into the water by using top arm strength. So all the muscles supporting the top arm, you want to press it in rather than throwing your body weight onto the catch so much, which you can see is creating canoe bounce at the bow. Take a look at three seat. When she's coming up to her set, her catch right there, she finishes that press in by dropping her hand. Top and hands act as a pendulum, pressed in from the top shoulder. The body lean stops. Three seat, nice efficient looking stroke. You'll notice that your exit is quicker than one seat though. Um, your rollover of your blade is quicker than one seat. So the length of your stroke is shorter than one seat. So you want to lengthen your stroke and slow your rollover down. If you incorporate your lower back into your stroke, keep the hand along the waterline a little bit longer, pull back with your lower back, drive with your leg, and extend that paddle time in the water. That will lengthen your stroke and stay in phase with the one. Right now, if you watch, you'll be quicker on the recovery and quicker on the exit. Okay, last comment on this clip. Hector, I just want to say you're doing a great job of steering right here. Like you're using really good steering techniques. You're contributing to the boat. You're not slowing this thing down at all. Anytime you poke, it's very quick. Uh, really, really good job. Okay, one seat. Um, Nice aggressive catch. I really like the way you really go for it there at the start of that stroke and good entry. This looks like the start of a C1 stroke. You can see as you lean forward, your arm comes above your ear and then you really apply rotational force on that catch. But notice the top arm stays really high throughout the stroke and your pullback stops a little short. If you take a look at 5-seat J stroke, you'll see that she presses that top arm right down towards the gunnel throughout her stroke, right down to where the bottom hand started, and pulls back right to the exit. So a nice long pull. Interestingly, when we take a look at your stroke when you're not quite putting the race effort in, it changes. It looks more like a stroke the way it should be. You're getting a nice pullback, nice sit up at the end of your stroke, different type of entry on your stroke, everything, complete different stroke. I would recommend trying the slower rate stroke during your race pieces and seeing if that works for you with the same amount of power and speed. Best test would be in a solo. You want a stroke that's not taxing for a long duration race and to be able to pull longer through the water when at a working rate. All right, 2-seat, really smooth, efficient, strong and effective stroke. The only couple of things, your lower arm seems to be breaking a little early at the catch. You might want to think about your arms as just levers. Just keep it a little straighter off the catch, bending as you pull through the stroke for the exit. Make sure you're driving off with that leg and incorporate the lower back muscle also, as well as the upper rotation. Driving it all the way to the back of the stroke. Don't ease up too early. Keep your lower arm straighter for longer with continued pressure to the back before you break your arm and pull it out of the water. And that'll force you to sit up and really give a good pull right through the whole stroke. If you take a look at 1-seat here, you can see how she keeps that lower arm like a lever very straight off the catch, staying low along the water line and only bending once she gets close to the exit. All right, J, 5-seat. Also a really good looking stroke. I like the way you really drive it right to the back of the stroke. Good full length on it. Also watch your lower arm on the catch. Make sure you're not bicepping it too soon. Keep it as a lever, bending it later. If you watch this canoe, you'll see one stroke type, um, being as it is a little shorter, seems to be really throwing this crew out of phase. You can see from the back to the front, there's different timing and recoveries, different power of phases in the water. There's definitely a lot of power in this crew. So I think that the boat would just simply get faster just by timing up the phases and conforming to similar stroke types.